Hello everyone, I'm making this video mainly unscripted because we got some news about Crash Bandicoot and they heavily worry me. So I'm going to make a disclaimer. I am going to be fairly critical of Toys for Bob work on the Crash Bandicoot series, both based on Crash 4 and what we know of Crash Team Rumble. But I respect the people that have worked on these games because they are human beings and I do not encourage harassment. Now that it's done, let's get into the subject of the video. So like any Crash Bandicoot fan knows, the series has been inactive on consoles from 2008 Mind Over Mutant and the N. Sane Trilogy in 2016. Presumably this was because Activision didn't see the potential and the fan demand and changed their mind when they saw how well received N. Sane Trilogy was. Presumably, N. Sane Trilogy was mainly a low-budget game made by Vicarious Visions, who have done their best to please the Crash fanbase by taking criticism and fan concerns during the pre-release. In the end, they did a nearly flawless recreation of the Naughty Dog games by also adding new content where they could, like time trials for Crash 1 and 2, a playable Coco on every single platforming level, and also adding the infamous cut level Stormy Ascent for free, as well as the brand new level Future Tense as a bonus for the anniversary of the game. And then, releasing 2 years later, we have Beenox releasing Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Doing so by using what Vicarious Visions created with N. Sane and improving from there, like some characters model, the lighting, which strongly gave a good feeling of Crash having a visual identity that is here to stay, and also making the game much more than just a remaster of Crash Team Racing with extra stuff from the N. Sane Trilogy. They remade the entirety of Crash Nitro Kart, they put in the racers and a good amount of kart from Crash Tag Team Racing. They have created an insane roster by using characters from many different games. A lot of these characters no one really saw coming as a legit possibility. So now we have had a remaster of the original trilogy to re-establish the franchise and introduce it to a new audience. The game indeed sold over 10 million copies. And we have a remaster of a very beloved spin-off that ended up being a celebration of the entire series, while also establishing a visual identity for the series. So, what could possibly go wrong? Now, out of nowhere, we have Toys for Bob taking care of the series. So I will not speak a lot about my thoughts on Crash 4. The main takeaway I have is that I'm very conflicted about it, more so than any other game. What is awesome about it is awesome. There is no denying this. But every stupid decision the game makes is very stupid. I entirely gave up trying to complete the game once I finished the main story because I realized how frustrating and stupid and tedious it was. And I'm someone who got every Platinum Relic on N. Sane Trilogy and defeated all the death times from Crash Team Racing twice. But now that I got this out of my system, here's the problem that's most relevant to this video. So riddle me this. The studio decides, hey, we should make a direct sequel to Crash Bandicoot Warped. After all, the series had just been re-established and there is demand for a new platformer. This I find respectable. But then, why the heck did they act like the N. Sane Trilogy and Nitro Fueled never happened? They did not make a single attempt at respecting what has been done by Vicarious Visions and Beenox, and they decide to scrap all of this to make their own models with their own art style, which is something that has been very contested in the past for the Crash series, so they completely changed how characters look. On top of that, they also decided to recast Crash and Coco, replacing voice actors that have been here since 2005 and 2001 respectively, which once again gives the impression that they wanted to be their versions of the characters in the series. So as much as the game wants to be a sequel to the trilogy and following Insane and Nitro Fueled, it really feels like a soft reboot entirely instead. And now we got into Crash Team Rumble. So I will not get into the very chaotic nature of this game pre-reveal, but long story short, it's apparently based on a minigame that was meant to come with Crash 4, but that was delayed, and now its own game entirely. But we got news lately, and in my opinion, they are not very good. So first of all, we got Toys for Bob version of Torna, Toys for Bob version of Entropy, and Toys for Bob version of Dingodile. Because yes, I refuse to believe that the fat vacuum user and food obsessed Dingodile from Crash 4 is the same as the evil pyromaniacs from the previous games. And Toys for Bob doesn't even seem to care about respecting their own work, if the fist bump of the trailer is any indication. But on top of that, there has been some leaked art about the game, and if it's still valid, it's not good news. After what Beenox did with Crash Team Racing, where they decide to have characters from all of the Crash Bandicoot games, this game appears to have 4 OC characters for every Naughty Dog characters that shows up, and a lot of them are missing. It kinda feels disgusting really, because you have 2 developers that show a lot of care for the Crash Bandicoot series and its legacy, and then you have Toys for Bob who appears to spit on that by replacing characters with their take on them, and not bothering to use the existing and extensive cast of characters that Nitro Fueled proved it can have, and instead opting to use a lot of original characters. And now we get into what inspired me to do this video. We finally got worthwhile news about Crash Team Rumble on March 21st, and they are really not good. So we always knew this game was going to be multiplayer focused, and I'm pretty sure most people thought it was going to be some kind of free-to-play live service game with microtransaction, which I wouldn't really mind. But then we got the news that the game is going to be paid. So let me get this straight. This is a game that exists thanks to leftovers from the previous game from these devs. It's a game that has no single player as far as we know, so it's online only. And it has a battle pass, and Toys for Bob has the balls to make this a paid game. I mean, they do seemingly have a track record of exploiting things that work, like how they exploited Skylanders' popularity until they couldn't make much more money out of it. So I personally think we have a recipe for disaster here, and I don't expect this game to do well at all. And this got me really worried about the future of the Crash Bandicoot series. Because sure, the reception to the Insane trilogy and Nitro Fueled designs wasn't unanimous, but it was overwhelmingly positive. The series was starting to build a legacy with these 2 games, and then we have Toys for Bob, scrapping everything this game did and doing the same mistake with Crash that the one they did with Skylanders, because they completely abandoned Spyro outside of cameos. I do wish I was wrong to be a pessimist about this series, but I really have no faith in Crash Team Rumble being well received and in Toys for Bob handling of the series. They are probably going to pull Skylanders and exploit the series' popularity while completely ignoring what has been done previously and imposing their vision. Well, now it's time to conclude. I apologize if the video isn't the best structured, because as I said at the beginning, this is a mostly unscripted rant, because I'm very worried about the Crash Bandicoot series and what has been done with it since TFB started working on it. If you've watched till the end, then I thank you for listening, and I'm open to hear your opinion on this subject. Like always, thanks for watching.